This thing called discipline is something I have been working on learning and becoming better at, especially since I've become self-employed. I think most people have the discipline to, wake up at a certain time, go to a job day after day, day in and day out, survive the week, chill on the weekend, and then they have the discipline to go back and do that again for another week and another week and another week. I do not have that kind of discipline. I do not like being on someone else's schedule, having to drive in traffic to get to work, drive in traffic to get home, all that kind of stuff. Not my kind of thing. No thank you. But being self-employed, I need to have the self-discipline to get up in the morning, to make choices throughout the day that keep me on track, that keep me earning money, that help me grow my network and my client base. It's a lot of relying on myself, and there's no boss telling me, hey, you need to be at work 10 minutes ago, right? But the good thing is, learning discipline in one area, it kind of bleeds over into every other area of your life. For example, when you get a terrible itch, a rash all over your body, and you're forced to just hold your hands together and resist the most powerful urge to scratch every single part of your skin, it helps you also become disciplined in other areas. For example, choosing to make healthier food choices, choosing to not eat sugar even if it's right in front of me. And especially after being just practically incapacitated for 2 weeks, coming back into being healthy, I am so happy to be back in the gym, so happy to be back at work, so happy to be able to do things normally without dancing around like I have bed bugs or something, or like a dog that has fleas. Discipline is about creating good habits, and if you know anything about building habits, if you've read Atomic Habits or Tiny Habits, very, very good books. If you don't know about habits, highly recommend reading those. I'm not going to go over all that. Basically, you start small, start with just the tiniest little step possible. You can stack habits. Once you start one thing, it's easier to start another. Placing it at a certain time of day, that makes it easier to do. If it's something like going to the gym, putting out your workout clothes the night before. I think most people at this point know a lot of those kind of things when it comes to building good habits and going down a path towards a better you, a happier future, reaching goals, that kind of thing. I want to share a few other things that I have learned though, and I do believe that discipline starts with good habits and starting with something small, and it grows over time. You're not just going to wake up one day and be disciplined to spend an hour at the gym every single day for the rest of your life if you haven't worked out for 5 years or something. I was trying to go a month without sugar recently. I decided I was going to film it. I completely failed, just utterly completely failed after I don't even think I made it 2 days. And then I got this rash and I was able to cut out sugar like this. I had a very high motivation to eat healthier because I was so desperately in need of not being itchy that I was willing to try anything to get my body to be healthy. I have found that the more you are able to take those little steps towards the better choice instead of the worser choice, the easier it is to continue to make the better choice and resist the temptation. And also, the more you give in to the temptation, for example, the sugar, the harder it is to take the better choice and resist the sugar. It's amazing how much it's just a muscle that when you exercise resistance to temptation over and over and over, it just becomes so much easier. But then as soon as you start giving into the temptation over and over again, it's also, you lose that muscle very quickly. So good habits, good discipline, that builds on itself. It grows and grows and grows and grows, as well as bad habits, bad discipline grows and grows, and eventually you're in a mudslide going down to the bottom of a cavern. a canyon excavating for a mine. This applies in exercise, in waking up at a certain time, which I don't do. I like to get my beauty rest, and sometimes it takes 6 hours, and sometimes it takes 10 hours, and sometimes it takes 12 hours, like when I'm sick. When it comes to meditating, oh my gosh, I heard such an interesting thing about meditating recently. I knew already that meditation is, at its very basic core level, is just focusing on your breath and not thinking, basically. Like just clearing your mind of thoughts, right? And the easiest way to just clear your mind is to just focus on your breath. It's just, okay, in, out, right? And just every time you find yourself starting to think or starting to lose yourself in random thoughts, you just remind yourself, come back to the breath. So I knew that, but I didn't realize that literally the practice of meditation, that it's just a practice. It is the practice. It's putting in the work of continuously reminding yourself, come back to the breath. I thought the goal was to get to a point where you don't have to keep reminding yourself, but no, the goal is just to practice coming back and coming back and coming back. It's not beating yourself up when you, for example, in the case of meditation, you find yourself lost in thought when you're supposed to be clearing your mind of thought. And it's not about that end goal. And I've talked about this before, how life is about the journey. It's not about the end goal. Goals, even goal setting, reaching goals, it's not about the end goal. It's about the journey. It's about what it takes to get there. It's about the path. For example, when you play guitar, the idea of playing guitar isn't to learn a song and be done playing because now you learn the song. It's the enjoyment of the daily practice of playing the guitar. When you are going on a hike, the idea is not just to be done hiking. It's the enjoyment of the walking up the trail and enjoying the view and the fresh air and the trees and the plants and the sunshine on your face. I have become more, that wasn't the right word. I have realized more and more how much everyday life, every single thing that we do is such a practice and a matter of just enjoying the moment and enjoying the journey and the process. So discipline itself is also a practice. It's doing the right thing again and again and again. And it's not about always doing the right thing even. It's like sometimes you consciously make the choice to have a milkshake, skip a day at the gym, sleep in, but knowing fully well that you have the discipline to snap back and go back to your practice maybe the next day. There are, of course, things that make this much easier in certain areas. If you're getting the proper amount of sleep, you're gonna be more likely to make healthy food choices. If you're going to the gym, you're more likely to skip the sugar. If you start with one habit, it's a lot easier to build other habits and practices, and that discipline, like I said, bleeds over to other areas. We have to start with the basics of like sleeping, eating, being able to take care of ourselves, and then we can more easily have the discipline to do things like 5 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day on whatever goals we're trying to reach, right? And something I found also recently, I decided to just, there's two things. A lot of my goals in the past, even recently, have been very, societal focused or like money oriented, or life, like buy this certain house, or be able to earn a certain amount of money, have a certain lifestyle, and not so much centered on like, what do I enjoy, what's something that's gonna just be fun to do every day. And I finally recently I was like, I want to learn this one song on the guitar. I've had a guitar for years and I've barely played. I haven't had the practice of just playing the guitar, picking it up randomly or whenever. And my guitar was sitting in my case for a while, but now I keep it out because it makes it easier to do my daily practice, my habit of playing the guitar. And the other thing is I've kind of always had this vague idea of like, I want to be able to do a handstand. And then it hurt my wrist. And then I was like, well, maybe I can do a headstand. So I'm learning to do a headstand. I'm learning to play the song on the guitar. And I thought first, I'll just start with one and then see how it goes and then add another one later. Because sometimes when you start too many things at once, you end up falling off the wagon a lot sooner. You end up burning out. But with these two habits just being kind of fun, not really any reason to do it, just something that I enjoy, I have been doing both consistently, practicing my headstands, practicing that song on the guitar every day, most days actually, because with my whole itch thing, that was such a mess. But just focusing more on enjoying the journey and having discipline to do something, even that's just like a little small fun thing, also is helping me build my muscle to have more discipline to do the harder things or the more tedious things, or things like I need to check the oil in my car and I really don't want to, but I'll do it anyway, because if I don't, my car's gonna break down. The more disciplined you become in any area, the less you put stuff off. I used to be a huge procrastinator, and now I'm just like, I need to do this thing, let's do it. There's no sense procrastinating on something, because it just pushes it to the next day and it just becomes a 1 week long headache instead of a 1 hour long headache trying to remind yourself to do that thing. So I hope this helps you think about things maybe in a different light, maybe gives you a little different perspective. I know it's a little bit rambly. I usually like to really plan out my videos better, give them a little more structure, but sometimes you just need to let the thoughts flow. Go out there and enjoy learning discipline. I think discipline has always sounded like such a firm, like terrible word. Like you think of parents disciplining their children, maybe by spankings, maybe by other manners, but I believe that discipline can be very fun, and especially when you keep yourself on top of something that you're really enjoying, like a fun little habit of learning how to headstand or learning a song on the guitar. Let me know what you think in the comments. Goodbye.